Over on TikTok, a guy by the name of Nolan Brock uploaded a clip to his profile back in February 2023, featuring home security footage recorded inside his own living room. Nolan explains that he had dozed off on the couch at the time the camera was rolling and says that when he went back and watched the footage, it genuinely scared him. Right away, you can make out some odd sounds coming from the doors as they begin to drift open on their own. Nolan stirs briefly, glances around the room, and then settles back down on the couch. A short time later, the footage jumps forward to another moment where he's once again fast asleep. Suddenly, one of the doors slams shut with a loud bang, snapping him awake instantly as he scrambles to make sense of what just occurred. What makes the whole thing so creepy is the slow build leading up to that moment. The doors don't just fly shut all at once. Instead, they seem to inch along gradually before that jarring second incident takes place. It's not hard to understand why so many people in the comments jumped straight to paranormal conclusions, especially given how violently the door closes that second time. That said, a more rational explanation could still exist, whether that's air pressure within the house or something happening just outside the frame that the camera simply doesn't pick up. Even still, the way the door drifts and then suddenly crashes shut reads as deeply unnatural, which is largely why the footage continues to unsettle everyone who watches it. So, where do you land on this one? Genuine ghostly activity, or just a bizarre moment that happened to get caught on camera? A terrifying clip was recently uploaded by a young woman named Erica to her social media account, and it spread like wildfire, racking up over 14 million views in almost no time at all. The video was recorded on a security camera and shows Erica's brother spending time with their grandmother inside her bedroom. Then, things take a deeply unsettling turn. See for yourself what unfolded. Without any warning, the boy is dragged by his leg, as though something unseen lurking in that room had reached out and violently pulled him across the floor. The terrified child wasted no time getting out of there. Erica is convinced that her family's home has become the target of some kind of haunting, pointing to a string of disturbing and unexplained events that have been occurring there lately. So tell me, how do you make sense of this? An Indian city has recently found itself gripped by a deeply unsettling enigma. Surveillance footage from multiple locations throughout the area has recorded an unidentified woman clad in traditional Indian attire. Under cover of darkness, she moves silently between homes, pressing doorbells before vanishing into thin air. Residents have reported that animals behave erratically in her presence. Then, one evening, a security camera caught something that left people genuinely disturbed.
दूर से बोलो देखो तेरे मोबाइल में साफ आई उसको कोई छोटी सी कैसे बना हां देखो अब ये आ रही है इनकी भी बजाएगी अब देखो इनकी बजाएगी जल्दी हो पहले इनकी बजाएगी ओ तेरी भैया देखो जी घंटी बजाएगी देखो हां घंटी बंद है किसी ने बजाई सब भाई तो चालू है अब देखो तो आई देखो उसका चेहरा नहीं है लेकिन साफ नहीं आ रहा देखो आगे और कहने बैक कर भी कुछ को नक लग रही भैया देखो यहां पे हां
A nearby cow bolted in terror the moment she drew close, and when she reached out to ring a doorbell, her hand seemed to elongate in a deeply unsettling, almost inhuman manner. Nobody has been able to identify this woman or explain why this eerie pattern keeps repeating itself. We have a chilling home video from an unidentified source. Everything about the scene appears completely ordinary. Two sisters play quietly on the floor while their mother rests on the couch with the baby in her arms. But what's about to unfold in this room will shatter that calm in a very disturbing way. There are 3 separate paranormal events packed into this footage. The first is so subtle that the family doesn't catch it at all. Pay close attention to every corner of the frame.
Turn on the lights, you're in bed, you're going to be freaked out. This is the role of the game take that. Game take that. Your children actually have it. That's okay. My mom used to be a hairstylist, and then she actually told me we're children. We call it the glory of hell. Things which is funny. Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh my gosh! Guys, this way.
This is a classic example of poltergeist activity building in stages. If you blinked and missed it, direct your eyes to the crucifix mounted on the wall. With nobody anywhere near it, the cross slowly rotates until it's hanging perfectly inverted, a symbol widely regarded as a sign of demonic presence. The family remains completely oblivious, their backs turned the entire time. But whatever is in that room isn't satisfied with being ignored. It cuts the television off next, silencing the background noise. And then, as if to make its presence impossible to deny, it hurls the toy basket across the floor right beside the children. The mother's instincts take over instantly, and she scoops up the kids and bolts from the room. Honestly, considering what that cross was doing behind their backs, getting out of there was absolutely the right call. Ordinary peaceful night in Mexico was suddenly shattered by the thunderous sound of hooves pounding against an empty road. Then, the CCTV footage revealed something that stopped people cold. A phantom rider charging through the darkness, its body completely headless, mounted on what appeared to be a skeletal, gaunt horse. The footage captures it barreling past a man seated nearby, who shows absolutely no reaction, as though the apparition were completely invisible to him. Yet the sound of galloping, unmistakably loud and real. The entity disappears just as fast as it arrived, leaving behind one deeply unsettling question. What if the legend of the Headless Horseman isn't actually a legend at all? Footage you're about to see was recorded by a security camera inside a clothing and athletic shoe retailer. Staff members reported that unexplained incidents had been taking place over the course of several months. Minor things initially, like subtle shifts and strange sounds after closing time, but they say the disturbances eventually grew far more intense and impossible to brush off. With nobody anywhere near it, one of the store's doors suddenly swings shut with considerable force, visibly startling the young male employee on duty. He edges toward it carefully, scanning the area for any sign that someone pushed it or that a draft might be responsible. But everything looks normal. There's no one there. The store settles back into silence, at least temporarily.
Yeah, I'm going, bro.
Just 7 days later, things take a turn that's difficult to rationalize. A shoe drops off its display shelf without anyone making contact with it. As the employee crouches down to retrieve it, the shoe flips itself over, almost as though it's responding to his presence. What makes the moment so deeply unsettling isn't just what happens, it's the timing. It doesn't read as accidental, it feels like a reaction. Within moments, both workers are overwhelmed and bolt out of the store, refusing to stay a second longer. Ever since the footage surfaced, viewers online have been sharply divided. Some point to air pressure fluctuations, vibrations, or building quirks as plausible causes. Others insist the movement looked far too deliberate to dismiss. So where do you land on this? Pure coincidence, a logical explanation, or something that defies one? Now, doors slamming on their own can be chilling enough, but sometimes the most bone-chilling encounters have nothing to do with the paranormal. Sometimes the threat is human. This clip was captured by a residential security camera owned by a Florida family. On December 8, 2019, the device's built-in speakers suddenly erupted with a blaring alarm. Seconds after that, a voice broke through, launching into a stream of insults and abusive language directed at the family.
Main man Shaq, it's your boy Chance on Nold. Welcome to the Noldcast. Wait, so did your child come out black or like kind of like light skin? I don't know.
What?
What made the situation even more unsettling was that the voice made a specific reference to the couple's son. The boy hadn't been in front of the camera at any point that evening, which strongly implies the hacker had already been lurking on the live feed for quite some time before making themselves known. The Brown family believes they were under surveillance for at least several days without ever suspecting a thing. Unfortunately, it was never possible to pinpoint just how long someone had been watching before that voice finally spoke up. After nearly 3 straight minutes of relentless verbal harassment, the family pulled the batteries out of the camera.
Bring like a web browser up on your phone and then type in the website that I tell you?
No.
Why? I'll leave you and your family alone. Or I could do this. I like your dog. Hey!
In the wake of that terrifying night, the Browns made the decision to abandon home security cameras entirely. Chase Beckstead and his wife Rachel had decided to spend the night at the home of Rachel's recently departed grandfather. The old man had taken his last breath inside those very walls just a month prior, which already made the whole place feel heavy with dread. Then, deep into the night, just as the couple were winding down and getting ready for sleep, things took a very strange turn. See for yourself.
And like, we're literally just...
With no breeze, no open windows, and no draft to speak of anywhere in the house, their bedroom door began swinging back and forth on its own, as though something invisible had taken hold of it. Chase and Rachel stood there in stunned disbelief, their fear building with every passing second. They'd had enough. They threw their things together and made the call to get out of there immediately. But right at the moment Chase reached for that final bag, the door slammed violently shut right behind him. Pay close attention to what happens next.
Okay, so we're leaving. We got all of our stuff packed. Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah, we're out of here. Rachel's already in the car. I'm leaving, like...
And then it started rattling again, this time with even more intensity than the first. To this day, Chase has never been able to come up with a rational explanation for what he witnessed that night. There are those who believe the haunting wasn't limited to the house alone. It was late at night when a young woman named Pershka decided to pull out her phone and film a quick clip in her kitchen. Her goal was to document the strange ice machine, which had been producing an eerie sound during the dead of night. She crept toward it slowly, fully expecting some kind of ordinary mechanical explanation. What unfolded instead left her completely shaken. See for yourself. For just a fleeting moment, the footage appeared to reveal the silhouette of a small girl standing close by. What made it even more unsettling was that the instant Pershka flipped on the kitchen lights, the figure was simply gone, leaving no trace behind. Shortly afterward, Pershka took the video down without any explanation, leaving everyone who had seen it deeply unsettled and full of questions. Was this nothing more than shadows playing tricks, or was something far more sinister at work? What you're about to see was recorded by a security camera inside a small American factory that produces horror-themed dolls and masks. Late one evening, a young female employee was wrapping up her shift, and just as she was preparing to head out, something deeply unsettling unfolded. She She moved toward the table to retrieve an item when, out of nowhere, the doll's head began to turn on its own. She paused and moved closer to get a better look, but in an instant, the doll's head whipped around with a sudden, violent jerk. The young woman recoiled in fright and bolted from the room. One night, a man was on his way home from work when a violent storm rolled in and pinned him inside his vehicle. Rain hammered the neighborhood streets, the darkness swallowed everything in sight, and there was something about the atmosphere that felt deeply off. So he waited, engine running, hoping the weather would let up, until something on the rooftop across the street stopped him cold. Perched on top of his neighbor's house was a tall, shadowy figure, barely visible through the downpour. Shaken by what he was looking at, he grabbed his phone and hit record. The shape had a vaguely human outline, but nothing about it seemed right. It stood far taller than any person realistically could, and it clearly wasn't a decoration or some kind of yard ornament, because early in the footage you can actually see it shift slightly. The man described it as entirely black, completely featureless, just a massive silhouette looming against the storm-filled sky. And then things got even stranger the following morning. When the sun came up, the figure had simply vanished. No sign it had ever been there. The man went and knocked on his neighbor's door, hoping for a rational answer, but the neighbor was just as baffled. When he sat down and watched the video himself, the color reportedly drained from his face. So the question that no one has been able to answer remains. Just what exactly was standing on that rooftop in the middle of that storm? A resident of Astoria, Oregon had been dealing with what he believed was poltergeist activity in his home, so he set up a CCTV camera in his bedroom to document whatever was going on. Late one night while he lay asleep, the door suddenly slammed shut with such violent force that the camera itself rattled. He jolted awake in a panic, screaming and demanding answers from whatever presence might be lurking there, yet the footage revealed absolutely nothing visible. Still gripped by fear, he kept shouting at the empty space before ultimately managing to flee the room. The whole ordeal left him deeply unsettled, questioning whether a restless spirit or something even darker had been with him that night. Absolutely chilling. Over in Cedar, Utah, roughly 2 years back, a man who was convinced that malevolent spirits had taken up residence in his home sat down in his kitchen and began reading from the Bible. Without warning, a cutting board slid right off its shelf and crashed to the floor on its own. The man was so overcome with fright that he let out a series of horrified screams. As he rose from his seat, the refrigerator door swung open by itself with no one near it. In desperation, he thrust a cross and his Bible toward whatever unseen force was tormenting him. Then, things escalated even further. Chairs began dragging themselves across the floor, and a baby chair toppled over as though his reaction had only provoked the entity further. He scrambled toward the exit, but sheer terror made it nearly impossible to get the door open, though he eventually broke free. After that day, he packed up and moved to a completely different apartment, desperate to put whatever haunted that place far behind him. Just
putting things away from the box. All right, now watch. I want you guys to focus on this area right here. Okay? Hold on, let me speed this up a bit. All right, watch. Look. Boom, you see that? I'm gonna get back here for you guys to give you a better view. Look at that. And I'm just like tripping, like what just happened? At first I I didn't know what the hell it was, but went to see that there's a box on the ground. I'm like, okay, it's weird. And now I'm going to look, to see what's going on. It fell, okay, but pay attention to this area right here. Watch. Is that you? Look, I'm here by myself. Nobody's here. It's just me. See that? Come out. I'm not afraid of you. Is that you that threw down the box earlier? Come on out. You don't scare me. Come on out, pussy. Always trying to mess with me. Oh! Oh, shit. No. Hell no. Hell. Let me see. Where am I? I'm here. Where am I? Look, there I am, right there. Look, you see that? You see that? Nah. No.
Putting some things away from the box. Alright, now pay close attention. I want everyone to focus on this specific spot right here, okay? Hold on, let me bump up the speed a little. Alright, watch carefully. Boom. Did you catch that? Let me rewind it so you can get a clearer look at that. I'm just standing there like, what on earth just happened? At first, I had no idea what I was looking at, but then I noticed there's a box sitting on the floor and I'm thinking, okay, that's strange. Now I'm gonna go check it out, see what's actually going on. It fell, but keep your eyes locked on this corner right here. Watch. Is that you? Look. I'm the only one here. There's nobody else in this place, just me. You see that? I'm not scared of you. Was it you that knocked that box down earlier? Show yourself. You don't frighten me. Get out here, coward. Whatever it is, it's trying to get in my head. There I am, right there. You see that? You seen this? One of the store's security cameras, positioned near an entrance, picks up something abruptly tugging at a small section of his hair with no apparent cause. The fact that his hair gets pulled like that while he's completely alone in the building really shook him. After reviewing the undeniable footage from the store's own CCTV system, he's drawn his own conclusion that something supernatural has taken up residence in his store, but I'll leave that call entirely up to you. This clip has exploded across the internet after being recorded on CCTV inside an airport terminal, because countless viewers are convinced that the Arab man visible in the footage isn't actually human, but something far stranger altogether. And that's not just speculation on my part. The video's own description, the man's physical appearance, and thousands of viewer comments all point in the same direction, so pay close attention. In the recording, the man stands perfectly still in the waiting area, appearing calm and unremarkable, until his clothing shifts and his lower legs come into view, exposing something that stops you cold. Rather than ordinary human feet, what's visible beneath him appears to be hoof-like appendages, resembling the split hooves of a goat, divided cleanly down the center. Reactions from viewers are all over the place. Some argue the clip is entirely AI generated. Others respond with sarcasm, questioning why a djinn would ever bother wearing a disguise in the first place. A handful of people suggest a more grounded explanation, that these could be a specialized type of footwear or prosthetic associated with certain African communities, such as the Doma people. Even so, a large portion of commenters maintain that something about this footage genuinely disturbs them and believe an actual djinn may have been caught on film. Personally, I'm not convinced there's solid evidence this is authentic, but given how widely it's spread, it deserves a closer look. And in an era where AI-generated content is everywhere, it's becoming dangerously convenient to write off genuine footage as fabricated. So tell me, what do you think you're actually seeing? Drop your thoughts down in the comments below. A family stumbled upon a concealed entrance tucked behind one of the walls in their home, and absolutely nothing could have readied them for what lay on the other side.
Door in the house that we think leads to a basement.
Driven by curiosity, they made the decision to pry it open and discover what secrets had been sitting there, undisturbed, for who knows how long.
This is some horror movie shit.
One by one, they started working through the bolts. With each one that came free, the suspense kept building, as if every turn of the screwdriver was bringing them closer to something they were never meant to find.
Supposedly the owner of the house before ordered it out. All the years of horror movie experience I've ever watched is telling me not to do this. Especially with how many screws there are. You better stop. My aunt's in the background.
Ah!
No.
Hey babe, did you see that hand?
Yeah.
No.
Nerves and patience in equal measure, they pressed on until the last bolt finally gave way.
Next thing you know, a little hand starts crawling out. Babe, are you done, honey?
No.
This was it, the moment they'd been working toward, except not quite yet, because there's still one stubborn bolt standing between them and the answer. He carefully raised the concealed panel, and the entire mood of the room shifted in an instant.
I ain't going down there. Hell no.
Footage here, picked up by a security camera positioned close to a bus terminal. In the clip, a pale, shadow-like shape can be seen moving through the frame before gradually vanishing into thin air. Watch closely and pay attention to every detail. Right at the start, you'll notice a man making his way down the road with a flashlight in hand. The path in front of him appears completely deserted, not a soul in sight. Then, just moments later, a white figure materializes, walks a short distance, and slowly dissolves until it's gone entirely. What's striking is that the man shows absolutely no reaction whatsoever. If that had been an actual person, you'd expect him to at least glance over. But no. He just keeps moving at the same steady pace, totally unbothered, as though nothing crossed his path. People have connected this incident to paranormal activity, with some calling it a genuine ghost sighting. That said, personally, I think there's still a reasonable possibility this was nothing more than a technical malfunction in the camera itself. Either way, I'll let you decide. Mom was casually capturing a sweet little moment with her daughter at home when something shifted in the background behind the door. She stopped the camera and went to investigate, and what she found stopped her cold: the pale, silent figure of a ghostly girl. Before either of them could even make sense of it, the apparition showed up again, this time motionless on the staircase. That was enough. Both of them bolted out of the house in a complete panic. But getting outside didn't bring any relief. Looking back up at the building, they could see the ghost still there, peering down at them from an upstairs window, as if it wasn't finished with them just yet.
See? No, I'm back going to right. See? What'd I say? Oh my god.
A mechanic from the state of Tamaulipas, Mexico, says he has spent years repeatedly coming face to face with inexplicable events occurring right inside his own house. According to him, it all started back in 2022 when he began spotting metallic luminous orbs and shadowy gray figures showing up in the middle of the night. From that point on, he started mounting security cameras all around his home and posting the recordings online, hoping someone out there might be able to shed some light on what was happening. While going through footage captured in January of 2025, a sudden intense flash of light appears out of nowhere in the living room. But what really had viewers stopping in their tracks was what seemed to be lurking just beyond that burst of light.
Ay, se me... Déjenme, ahorita se los voy a mostrar, es un video increíble. Yo se los dejo a su criterio. Todo lo que yo les estoy mostrando aquí, esto es real, es algo que está pasando y que ya tiene rato que ha estado pasando aquí conmigo. Voy a correr el video. Voy a correr el video para que ustedes lo vean. Lo voy a acercar aquí. A ver. Vean ustedes. Se los muestro. Vean. Vean aquí está la cámara. Vean. Vean. Vean la cámara sale y entra el infrarrojo. Vean eso, pero ustedes ahorita ven la luz, se ve muy rara, vean ahí. Ahorita les voy a mostrar a ustedes. Eso que se ve ahí es una esfera. Yo ahorita la estaba viendo, es una esfera. Pero ahorita les voy a mostrar quién trae en la mano esa esfera. Vean ustedes y vean cómo se desaparece. Vean lo que hacen. Vean lo que hacen. Vean lo que hacen y vean, se van y vean lo que se ve.
When the recording is played back in slow motion and the image is magnified, a gray face featuring oversized eyes momentarily comes into view, bearing a striking resemblance to the classic depiction of extraterrestrial beings so commonly described in alien encounter accounts. On the skeptical side, some argued the glowing orb was most likely the result of LED lighting or a simple reflection bouncing around the room. Others pointed out that the face-shaped form could easily be a trick of the eye, produced by image distortion or low camera resolution. Despite all that, a significant number of people remain convinced the clip carries uncomfortable echoes of previously documented UFO encounter reports. So, where do you stand on this one? On March 6, 2023, a Reddit user snapped a photo of his kitchen in the middle of the night. According to him, he'd been dealing with unexplained sounds throughout his apartment for the past couple of years, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't track down where they were coming from. Then, one evening, while sitting in his living room, he pointed his camera toward the kitchen and caught something that stopped him cold. It wasn't until he enhanced the image that a tall, looming figure became visible standing right there in his kitchen. His belief is that whatever this presence is, it's the very thing behind all those unsettling sounds he'd been hearing after dark. And just when you think it can't get stranger, only a few days after that post, he uploaded footage of yet another disturbing incident. He set up his camera to record through the night in the same spot where the figure had appeared, and here's what it captured. Look carefully and you can make out what appears to be a shape moving through the darkness. But once the footage is brightened, the video goes from unsettling to outright chilling. Whatever is seen in that recording may very well be the same entity that appeared in the original photo. One explanation is that someone could be living inside his apartment without his knowledge. On the other hand, plenty of viewers are convinced this is no ordinary intruder, but something that defies rational explanation. No follow-up has been posted since, so for now, draw your own conclusions about what was recorded. At first glance, this looks like a completely unremarkable street corner. Yet, a surveillance camera mounted at this location documented a string of deeply strange events, all taking place within a single 24-hour period. Multiple Argentine news sources, among them LSU, have covered this peculiar intersection situated in the town of Toledo. People in the area have since given it a nickname, the Cursed or Enchanted Corner. The cameras trained on this crossroads caught a remarkable number of bizarre incidents on tape. Cyclists dropping to the ground for no apparent reason, pedestrians stumbling while doing nothing more than walking, motorcycles sliding across completely dry roads, and cars whose front wheels appear to jerk sharply to one side without any input from the driver. What makes this even harder to wrap your head around is that these events were spread across all different hours of the day. Some unfolded in full daylight, others under the cover of night, and they seemed to happen regardless of the weather, whether the sun was blazing or rain was coming down. Perhaps the most staggering part of all is that every single one of these incidents took place within just one day. People living nearby are split on what could actually be behind it. Some feel the sheer number of accidents rules out coincidence entirely and are convinced something supernatural is at play, maybe a spirit or some kind of invisible force haunting the area. Others insist there has to be a rational explanation, pointing to the possibility of concealed road imperfections, uneven surfaces, or subtle engineering problems that could be throwing people and vehicles off balance. Even those who lean towards skepticism, though, find one particular detail hard to dismiss. These incidents don't all happen at the exact same point in the intersection. They're scattered across slightly different areas of it, which makes the whole pattern feel far stranger than it seems on the surface. Drop your thoughts on this one down in the comments. The following clip was recorded at night inside a house that, according to the man filming, had already been giving both of them reasons to pay attention. The two men had apparently been noticing the double doors at the end of the hallway behaving strangely, opening on their own without explanation. So on this particular night, one of them decided to test it. With a black spatula still in hand from the kitchen, he walks down the hallway, pushes both doors firmly shut, turns back toward the camera, and gestures as if to say, "See, they're closed." The camera person confirms it. There's no wind in there. They settle in to wait. Watch.
Wait, if that's fully shut. Now, right, now let's just sit and wait. He's just fucking lurking. Oh, go off! Right off! Yo! What? Nah. What the fuck?
About 20 seconds after the doors are latched, the right one swings open smoothly and deliberately, with nothing and no one near it. The reaction is immediate. The camera person shouts in complete shock, and their little dachshund wanders over to investigate what they can't. If you watch the door's movement carefully, there's no hesitation, no rattling first. It just opens. Skeptics would point to an unlatched mechanism or air pressure from the kitchen, but the man had just confirmed it clicked shut. So what opened it? In this next clip, someone is lying in bed alone at night, phone in hand, when something in the room stops them cold. Not something they see directly, but something caught in the reflection of a mirrored wardrobe door across the room. The dim lighting, the shaky camera, the panicked breathing, all of it suggests they've already convinced themselves something is wrong before the recording even starts. Watch. The reflection shows the dark space underneath the bed, cluttered and hard to read clearly. But somewhere in those shapes, they're certain they can make out a figure. That panicked breathing doesn't stop. Skeptics point to pareidolia, the brain's tendency to find human shapes in random patterns, especially in low light. But if you've ever lain in bed in the dark wondering what's underneath you, you'll understand exactly why that breathing sounds the way it does. In this next clip, a family is spending an evening at a fast food restaurant when the woman filming notices something unsettling in the large window that looks into the children's playground area. The playground is fully visible from where they're standing, brightly lit, colorfully decorated, and clearly empty. But in the glass's reflection, there's a dark, human-shaped figure sitting perfectly still at one of the tables inside. Watch.
¿Alguien que me explique?
Porque hay una persona ahí. Pero no está aquí.
¿Qué onda con esta falla de la Matrix? Sigo sin entender qué pedo.
Mira, ¿qué le va a tomar? ¿Qué le va a tomar? Toma.
No hay nada.
Te lo juro, delante de Dios que me está oyendo y me está escuchando. Fui me asomé a la esquina y no había nadie. O sea, nadie cerca de aquí para que se
¿Dónde está esa persona?
Ah, espérate.
Es el teléfono.
The family immediately checks the actual playground, panning the camera back and forth between the reflection and the empty space, and the figure never moves, never disappears. The little girl even walks up to the glass to peer inside herself, swearing before God that she went and looked around the corner and found nobody there. That alone is hard to dismiss. Some viewers think it's a trick of the lighting, a reflection from somewhere else in the restaurant bending across the glass at just the right angle. Others aren't so sure, because if you watch the reflection closely, it stays completely consistent as the camera moves, which isn't typical of a simple optical artifact. So who was that? And why was he there? In this next clip, a woman is asleep on her couch in her living room on March 16th of 2023, bright daylight coming through the window beside her. She's alone in the house, covered in a blanket, completely unaware of what her security camera is quietly picking up. She later described waking from a sleep paralysis episode and hearing someone say her name, despite nobody else being there. Her St. Bernard is resting on its bed nearby, calm and settled. Then something changes. Listen closely. At just a couple of seconds in, a faint muffled voice, just a single word, is audible on the recording. The dog hears it immediately. It lifts its head, stands up, and then carefully climbs onto the ottoman in front of her, sniffing the air and the space around her sleeping body before nudging her awake. What makes this hard to dismiss is that the dog's reaction is the corroboration. You can watch it track something across the room that isn't there. So, what exactly said her name? In this next clip, a man who works the night shift at a school in the United States has been documenting what he says is a pattern of strange activity that keeps happening after everyone else has gone home. And on this particular night, he decided to start recording everything he was experiencing. He's standing in a lit hallway, looking out into a completely dark cafeteria, when something in the far set of double doors catches his attention. He can't quite explain it, but he says it looks like someone is standing in the window. Watch.
No sé si alcancen a ver. Miren, es como si alguien se viera ahí en la ventana. ¿Sí ven? Ven. ¿Sí vieron? Apagar. No hay más para allá. Se supone que están apagados los focos. Pero cuando tú ya sales, lo prenden, se prende. Solo.
At the end of the dark cafeteria, there's a faint shape visible through the glass panel of the door. Dark, human-sized, and still. Then it shifts slightly and disappears. That alone would be unsettling enough, but he also pulls up security footage from elsewhere in the building, and you can see a large rack of chairs in an empty hallway suddenly topple over on its own with no one nearby. Then, he walks outside, and that's when he points the camera up at the second floor. A classroom window that, according to him, should be completely dark is lit up from inside. Skeptics might point to drafts for the chairs, faulty timers for the light, but the shape in that window is harder to dismiss. What do you think was standing there? Now, in this next clip, two men are filming outside a building at night. A quiet exterior with a few small trees along a light-colored wall. A single window glowing an intense blue against the darkness. Almost immediately, one of them starts calling out to the other, whose name is Angel, urging him to look. Something has appeared between the trees. Watch.
Mira, paso, mira, ¿ah? Mira, mira, ahí se paró, mira, ahí está parado, Mira, Ángel, Ángel,
Parou, ai, mira.
Mira, tu parou, ai, mira.
Vê?
Vê esse negro que tá aí? Aí se parou, mira. Fica atenção, mole, mira. Aí tá parado, mira. Vê esse negro que tá? Pero de allá aqui? Aí tá parado, aí. Aí quedou parado, mira. Aí se mole, mira. Asca, Vira o negro que tá aí? Aí, isso aí. Hã? Acho que techo? Mira.
A tall, slender, pitch black figure materializes between two trees to the right of that glowing window, darker than the surrounding shadows, distinctly humanoid, with a clear head and shoulder silhouette. It stands completely motionless for over 30 seconds as both men watch, voices hushed, one of them describing it in Spanish as El Negro que está ahí, the black thing standing there. Then, without stepping away, without turning, it simply vanishes. Gone. And if you stay with the footage just a few seconds longer, you'll catch something even harder to explain. A second figure, extremely tall, impossibly thin, and pale white, visible for a single frame behind the central tree before it too disappears. Two entities. Two very different appearances. That combination has led a lot of viewers to point towards shadow people, a term used across multiple cultural traditions to describe dark, human-shaped silhouettes that seem to act with intent, distinct from ordinary ghosts and, in some Islamic traditions, linked closely to the concept of jinn, being said to occupy spaces unseen, what the men describe as a sign. At the very opening of the clip makes you wonder, did they already sense something was out there before the camera ever caught it? This next clip was recorded at night inside a cemetery by a man who came there alone with nothing but a flashlight and apparently the intention of making contact, because the first thing you hear him say as he moves the beam across a tiled crypt door is, "Just tell me where you are. I want to know who you are." He was asking out loud, into the dark, as if expecting something to answer, and something did. Watch.
Solamente dime dónde estás, quiero saber quién eres.
Ay, Dios. Uy, Dios, no mami. Uy. Ay, Dios.
Dime y te puedes mostrar. Solo quiero saber quién eres, ¿cómo te llamas?
Me voy a poner de frente. Bien. No mames. Oye, alguien habló, amigos, ¿escucharon? Alguien habló.
¿Estás ahí?
Uy, Diosito. Uy, no mames, sí se miró eso.
¿Quién está adentro?
Cerraron la puerta.
¿Quién está adentro?
Uy, no.
¿Quién está ahí? ¿Puedes abrir la puerta? No puedes hacerlo. ¿No puedes hacerlo qué?
Mire. Uy, escucharon las garras. Se escucharon unas garras. Unas garras escucharon, no manchen.
What happens in the span of 90 seconds is almost too much to process at once. A large pink cross suddenly falls off a nearby grave with no visible cause. Seconds later, the door itself, heavy, metal, barred, starts to shake while it's still ajar, then violently slams shut on its own. A faint, breathy whisper follows almost immediately after, and the man reacts to it in real time, insisting to whoever's watching that someone just spoke. Then something dark rushes past the camera on the left side, fast and low, accompanied by a sharp rustling sound. And if you thought that was the end of it, the door starts banging from the inside. Hard, rapid, forceful, before slowly swinging open on its own. Accompanied by a scraping sound the man identifies as Scariest, the Spanish word for claws. The sequence of events is what makes this so difficult to dismiss. One falling flower arrangement could be wind, a vibration, anything. but a door slamming, a whisper, violent banging from inside a locked crypt, and then the door opening again. Those aren't variations of the same mundane explanation. They're escalating. Some viewers point to the behavior of the door specifically and argue this is consistent with what paranormal investigators call intelligent activity, meaning whatever's present isn't just residual energy looping on its own, but something actively responding to him. Others think the cemetery setting itself is significant. Many Latin American traditions hold that the hours around midnight are when the boundary between the living and the dead is at its thinnest, and openly inviting contact in that space, the way he does at the start, is considered genuinely dangerous by people who take those beliefs seriously. Skeptics will point to animals, structural settling, or staged effects, but the banging from inside a sealed crypt is the detail that tends to silence that conversation pretty quickly. He asked whatever was inside to show itself. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. What came back through that door is something he clearly wasn't prepared for. And honestly, neither is anyone watching this for the first time. Now, in this next clip, a woman is trying to pull a prank on her boyfriend while he's sleeping on the couch, holding her phone to his ear, laughing, clearly not expecting anything beyond a reaction. She doesn't even notice what's in the mirror behind her. Watch.
Get away from me, hello? You're screaming in my ear when I'm trying to sleep. Stop, dude. Stop, dude. I'm trying, bro.
Trying what?
In the reflection on the right side of the mirror, a tall, dark, semi-transparent figure appears to be standing in a part of the room where nobody physically is. And for a brief moment, you can make out a distinct hand with visible fingers raised as if waving. She's completely focused on the prank, unaware. Many viewers point to this as a classic shadow person encounter, a term used to describe dark, human-shaped silhouettes that appear to move with intent, sometimes described in paranormal traditions as entities distinct from ordinary ghosts, and in some belief systems linked to jinn. Whatever it wasn't there for her boyfriend. It was already in the room before the prank even started. The following video was recorded by a home security camera and later shared to YouTube by a man named Charlie on his channel, where he claimed the footage was captured outside his property late one night. The camera overlooked a quiet yard, with a parked pickup truck in the foreground and a road running along a tree line in the distance, all of it lit by the yellow-orange glow of a nearby street lamp. At first, nothing seemed unusual. The footage looked like any ordinary overnight security recording, but while reviewing the video, Charlie noticed something near the stop sign on the right side of the road and called his partner over to watch it with him. Watch closely.
And watch the stop sign on the left or on the right-hand side. It materializes. There's the head and shoulders walking down the road, turns and walks up the road and disappears behind the tree.
That's just freaking nuts.
A translucent, human-shaped figure is seen on the road, head and shoulders clearly visible, and walks calmly from right to left before turning up a path and vanishing completely behind a tree, never emerging on the other side. What makes this harder to dismiss is that the figure doesn't run, doesn't flicker out mid-stride. It just walks, deliberately, and then it's simply gone. Some viewers think it's a classic residual haunting, a kind of energy imprint replaying a path someone once walked so often it burned itself into the location. Others aren't sure that explanation covers something you can watch materialize out of nothing. What do you think was walking that road? Now, in this next video, a man who works at a cemetery has been documenting a string of increasingly strange incidents coming from the garage on the property, a locked, cluttered workshop filled with lawn equipment, tools, and what he's starting to believe is something that doesn't clock out. Over the past few days, he's reported a white door slamming shut on its own, 3 loud knocks against it while it was still open, and lights flickering on and off through the windows before he even unlocks the place. He's calm about it, almost too calm, which is either the sign of someone who's gotten used to something or someone who's made peace with something they can't explain. On this particular morning, while he's walking through the garage with a camera and talking through what he'd experienced before hitting record, it happens again. Watch.
Alright, so I am up here at the cemetery, and I wish I would have caught it, but I was just getting my stuff together for the day, and I had this door open along with this bay door, and this door just slammed shut so loud, and I swear, prior to it slamming, I heard 3 knocks on it while it was open. I have no explanation. What the fuck? I have no explanation. I don't know what the hell that was. It was 3 super loud knocks, and then the door slammed shut so loud, so fast too. It was like, oh, I wish I would have caught it. I don't know what that. Good morning. Sorry, I forgot to say good morning. Did you drop your tool? I'll get it for you. I'll put it on the workbench. Is that better?
A sudden, jarring metallic clatter erupts from somewhere inside the garage, completely off camera, and the camera jolts as he spins around searching for the source. What he finds is a socket wrench extension lying on the concrete floor. No one else is in the building, and he can't account for how it got there. But here's the thing about the way he responds. He doesn't run. He picks it up, places it on the workbench, and quietly says, "Is that better?" Addressing whatever threw it as if it were a coworker who knocked something off a shelf by accident. Some viewers find that the strangest part. Skeptics would argue the tool could have fallen from a surface nearby, but the force of that clatter and the timing of it are harder to explain away. That's simply. The next morning, he pulls in and notices the lights in the locked workshop are flashing on and off through the window, and when they finally stay on, he thinks he sees a dark shadow dart past the glass. He unlocks the door and goes in to investigate. Listen closely.
Alright, so I just arrived to the cemetery, and through that window saw the lights flashing 3 times, on, off, on, off, on, off. They're now off. I waited like a minute. They didn't turn back on, but the last time they flashed on, I could have swore I saw a dark shadow dart by that window. So we're gonna go right in, unlock the door. We're gonna say good morning right off the bat. Good morning. Good morning. I saw the lights on. Good morning. It looked like something darted by that window right there. Now I don't see anything. We're gonna turn the lights on. Good morning. Just here to work. I saw the lights. I saw the lights flickering. Do you need help? Did you lose something? Morning.
He's mid-sentence when another loud clatter cuts through the silence and a small black circular object appears on the concrete floor near one of the mowers, seemingly thrown from nowhere. His voice drops, his breathing shifts, and he starts whispering, clearly rattled despite having been through this before. He'd seen the shadow dart past that same window the day before, which suggests whatever's in that space isn't a one-time occurrence, but something that keeps showing up. Then, on yet another visit, arriving to find the lights on again in a building he'd left locked and dark, he unlocks the door, steps inside, and whispers that he can see footprints near one of the windows. Watch closely.
Alright, I'm up here at the cemetery, just pulled in, and saw the light flash on, flash off. Saw something go by this window, and the lights are on right now. The lights are literally on, still on right now. This is the first time I actually caught the lights while they're still on. Good morning. These lights were off Friday when I left, and now they are on. This is the first time I caught them. They were flashing when I pulled in. This is the first time I caught them actually staying on. Good morning. Oh yeah. No prints. Something flashed in front of this window right here. What the was that? Good morning. Okay. You don't have to throw my headphones. I mean, they're not expensive, but they're not cheap. Actually caught the light staying on this time. You know, you better pitch in for this electric bill if you're going to keep these lights on.
Two separate metallic clatter sounds erupt one after the other from an unseen source, and when he finally locates the disturbance, he finds his own headphones thrown onto the floor next to one of the mowers. Some people also heard a cat's meow somewhere inside the garage, and while that's been floated as a natural explanation for some of the noises, it doesn't account for all of them, and it certainly doesn't explain the lights turning themselves on between visits. What's living in that workshop, and what exactly does it want with the man who mows the cemetery? The following clips come from the same house, the same rooms, the same security cameras, the same person living through a series of events that started quietly and then got significantly worse. It begins in the early hours of February 16th of 2020, just before 3 a.m., with the house empty, the lights off, and a small cat sitting on the floor near a closed interior door. The cat had come into the bedroom earlier that night and woken the homeowner up, meowing loudly, which he didn't think much of at the time. By the morning, though, the cat was refusing to come downstairs entirely. Watch. The door first drifts open on its own, slowly, a few inches, as if something is testing the weight of it, and then something is seen resting against the wall. No one's there. Skeptics would say air pressure, a draft, an unlatched latch. But the slow creep before the violent slam is what makes that explanation hard to land. Drafts don't usually pause. Then it got worse. On April 27th of 2020, more than 2 months later, the security camera in the same house captured something far more chaotic. The owner had been filming the night before, heard a lot of banging, and went upstairs rather than keep recording, a decision he openly regrets. Listen closely. Objects are thrown from a stacked pile under the stairs. A board game box lands hard in the middle of the floor. A scraping sound tears across the room like something heavy being dragged. And then, as the activity seems to settle, the glass pane door in the center of the frame slams shut on its own with enormous force. Orbs of light appear and vanish twice during the sequence, each one coinciding with a new sound or movement. For viewers familiar with poltergeist cases, that combination, objects thrown, furniture weight scraping, doors slamming, fits a pattern described repeatedly in documented activity reports, where the disturbances escalate in both frequency and aggression over weeks, not in a single night. It's not subtle. And if you've been following this case from the first clip, the same door, the same rooms, the same hours of the night, you'd start to wonder whether whatever this is had been building towards something. 2 months after the security camera footage, the same homeowner found himself downstairs at 5:30 a.m., woken by a loud bang, phone in hand, filming as he walked down a dark staircase. Watch.
Right, so it's like 5:30 in the morning. I just got woken up to a loud bang. I was thinking maybe it's just Corey, but no. Corey's here sleeping next to me. And if you want to have a look as well, this is what he's fucking come to. Falling asleep. Watching Minecraft playthroughs. Because I can't fucking sleep and I'm just like, I need to have all my electronics on my fucking Xbox and my PC in order to even like relax. It's ridiculous, but that's what's going on. Let's go see what's going on downstairs. Right, so the light's not working again. What the fuck? Fucking orange on the fuck's sake. Freezer's leaking. Right, and the door's just opened itself. I don't even know if the camera fucking picked that up. Oh, for fuck's sake. I can't be fucking bothered with this. Right, if there's anything in the room with me right now, if there's anything or anyone that wants to communicate, open the fucking door. Go on, open the fucking door.
What the f? Oh my god. Right, so there's something in the room. Do you want me to do a f***ing Ouija board? Is that it? What the f? For f***'s sake. Right, I'm just gonna that scared the shit out of me.
Every kitchen cabinet and drawer is standing wide open, and the freezer door is ajar with an orange on the floor. He shuts the drawers one by one, and as he turns, a white door with frosted glass panels slowly swings open behind him. He challenges it out loud, tells it to open the door if it's there, and after a pause, it obliges, thrown open with extreme force, and then slammed shut in the same motion. He asks if it wants him to get a Ouija board, and the moment he finishes the sentence, a tall, freestanding stack of cases in the next room violently collapses. He runs. A continuous high-pitched sound, somewhere between a theremin and a tone, runs underneath all of it. That sound in particular unsettled a lot of viewers because it doesn't come from anything visible on screen. Some think it's consistent with infrasound-adjacent phenomena, low or high frequencies sometimes reported in locations with active disturbances, described in some paranormal traditions as a sign that something is present and aware. Others think it's audio added in post to sell the drama. What would you do if that was your house? Sometime after all of this, the homeowner turned his attention to something else in the property, a plasma ball he'd been using as a paranormal communication device. He unplugged it from the wall, established a system of 1 flash for yes and 2 for no, and filmed it responding to his questions. Take a look.
Right, so the plasma balls just started going off again after I filmed that last video, so I figured now's a good time to ask it some more questions. So I'm just going to unplug it here so you know it's not faked. And someone mentioned that I should ask it to do 1 flash for yes and 2 flashes for no. So, yeah, whatever's in the room with me right now, if you want to communicate, would you be able to do 1 flash for yes and 2 flashes for no? Right. So you're in the room with me right now. And do you want to communicate? Right, so, were you a human? So you weren't a human? Or you're not a human? Right, and are you a demon? No. I don't know what you mean when you flash like that. So when this started, like before this started, I had a dream that Pennywise was downstairs in this house. Was that you trying to communicate to me? Take that as a yes. And are you Pennywise? No, obviously. Right, so are you bad? Yes. That's creepy. And I will just show as well. Yeah, so if I just... Right, so... I want to keep it all in one shot. Yeah, I was wrong. It is battery operated. Look, there is a little battery slot there. So I am just going to show. I didn't even know that was there, but I am just going to show. If I set the phone down like here, right, unscrew it. Yeah, I didn't even know that there was a battery thing on it. I think the screwdriver is too big. So yeah, I just want to keep it all in one shot so you can see that that's it. Yes. Oh. Yeah, I'm not well at the moment, so if I sound rough, that's why. Right. So, as you can see, watch it, there's 3 batteries inside of it that I didn't even know about. But yeah, when I bought this, I didn't even look, didn't even check to see if there was a battery thing inside. So yeah, I guess Steve-O was right, but yeah, you can see. Oh. You can see there, there's no batteries. So,
after the questions, he carries the ball to the kitchen and opens a battery compartment in the base on camera in a single continuous take. No cuts, no edits. And the compartment is completely empty. 4 slots for AAA batteries, all of them vacant. So the device had been responding with no connection to a wall outlet and no batteries installed. That final reveal, done almost reluctantly after a viewer pointed out the battery compartment existed in the first place, is what made this clip spread widely. There's no clean explanation for a plasma ball flashing on command with no power source, so what do you think he's dealing with? The following video was recorded inside a family's home. A quiet, carpeted bedroom, a floor mirror against the wall, soft light coming through a sheer curtain on the far side of the room. A toddler girl, no older than 2 or 3, is standing with her back to her mother's camera, singing softly to herself, completely at ease, swaying, lost in her own little world. For about 30 seconds, nothing feels wrong at all. Then, it does. Watch.
What's wrong?
Hey, what's here?
No one's here. What happened?
It's cute.
You scared? What?
Mid-song, she just stops, turns her head slowly toward the curtain, and something in her body language shifts in a way you don't expect from a child that age. She turns to face the camera, her expression serious, and tells her mother she's scared. Then she points directly at the corner near that curtain window and says there's someone over there. The mother confirms no one else is in the room. Many believe young children, especially toddlers, are more attuned to things adults simply can't perceive. Others think it's imagination, but that shift, from singing to frozen to pointing, happens in seconds, and it's hard to explain away. What do you think she saw? Now, in this next clip, a young woman is resting inside her apartment late at night when something in her room sends her into a full sprint out of the building, and she doesn't stop until she's outside on the street, gasping, hands shaking, camera rolling. Watch.
Oh my god, I think there was something in my room. I don't know.
Once she's outside, she finally stops, and that's when she turns the camera up toward a second-story window, her window, where something is standing in the light, unnaturally tall and walking around the room like it owns the place. Some viewers suggest it could be a trick of perspective, shadows stretching across the room, furniture distorting under light. But that explanation struggles to account for the movement, the way the figure moves, the way it carries a form that doesn't break apart like light usually would. Others lean toward a more paranormal explanation, suggesting it could be something tied to the apartment itself, possibly the presence of a former occupant, something that remained behind and now occupies the space in a way that overlaps with the living. But even that theory raises questions, because the height of the figure doesn't quite align with something familiar or human, making it feel less like a lingering presence and more like something entirely different. And that's where the discomfort settles in, because whatever she ran from didn't follow her out. It stayed behind, moving inside her apartment as if it had every right to be there, but with no further updates and no explanation that confirms what she saw or what remained in that room after she left. This encounter continues to sit in that space between possibility and uncertainty, with no clear answer in sight. The following video was recorded by an overnight caregiver who'd been noticing something strange in the home where she worked. Every night, around the same time, sounds would start moving through the house. Shuffling, creaking, the kind of noises that made it impossible to stay asleep. Now, this particular home had a female patient who, according to her medical situation, doesn't walk. So when the sounds kept coming back, she decided to do something about it. She pretended to fall asleep, hid her phone beneath the covers near the couch, and let it record. The room stays dark, and for a while, nothing seems out of place until something, or in this case, someone appears in the hallway. Watch. A woman emerges from the far corner of the hallway while hunched forward at the waist, feet planted apart, completely still, staring directly toward where she's lying. She doesn't move. The caregiver says she stayed like that for over an hour. Many viewers believe what they're seeing is something that goes well beyond a medical condition. Others aren't sure what to believe, but that image, that stillness, is hard to explain away. Now in this next clip, a mother named Cora is dealing with something that's been shaking her household for a while now. Her young daughter has been suffering from night terrors so severe that the family has decided to move. It's the middle of the night, just past 2:42 a.m., and after her daughter woke up screaming in distress, Cora got out of bed to walk her back to her own room. The child is quiet now, but that silence feels heavier than the crying did. As Cora follows her daughter down the dark hallway and into the bedroom, she notices something that stops her mid-sentence. Her daughter has gone completely still, staring at the far wall without saying a word, then starts to cry. Watch.
I'm scared.
Scared? Are we scared, baby? Come on, you're a big girl. Come here, big girl. You're a big girl. It's okay. There's the vent right there, baby. See? The vent pushes the door. You're fine, okay? Are you a big girl? Feel scared, just remember. Baby Lenny's here, Mommy's here. We're all gonna be together in the same house. It's gonna be okay. Let's go to bed. What's wrong, Cora? Sweetie, what are you afraid of? You're scaring me, honey. I don't see anything.
The window suddenly closed violently, and there was no wind, no storm, or anything else that could explain the force. Many viewers point out that the child seemed to already know something was wrong before it happened, standing frozen and staring directly at that window for several seconds beforehand. Others think she'd sensed it all night. But you be the judge. The following video was recorded by a man working a night shift at what appears to be an industrial or commercial facility, and from the very first few seconds, something about the way he's filming makes it clear he already knows he isn't alone. He's shooting from a hidden position, wedged behind a door frame, camera trembling in his hands. Watch. A dark humanoid silhouette can be seen in the window frame. Head and shoulders, clearly shaped like a person, holds for roughly 2 seconds, then snaps back and disappears. Whatever he just saw, he's seen it behave this way before, and that alone makes this unsettling in a way a single random anomaly never could be. Some viewers think it's a person hiding and taunting him, but others point out the figure's movement is too fluid, too deliberate, and that the darkened shape doesn't quite match the proportions of anyone who should be there. That question doesn't get answered because the same man, or someone connected to this location, ends up back on camera again later that same night, this time inside a security room, checking the monitors, clearly shaken by a fresh round of sounds he can't explain. Loud knocking and banging echo from just outside the room, but every camera feed shows nothing. He moves into an adjacent locker room and sets his phone on the floor. Watch closely. If you look closely at the boot, you'll see it moving like someone trying to turn from one direction to another. But the thing is, no one was wearing the boot. Then the doors start opening, locker after locker. A lot of viewers who've watched the full footage describe it as one of the most sustained, escalating sessions of unexplained activity they've ever seen. Not one event, but a cascade that keeps building until it becomes impossible to stay. What would you do? The following footage was captured by the security camera in Jorge Cruz's house. During a quiet night, everything is still for several minutes until this happens. Watch. That chair slides backward and rotates on its own. Smooth, deliberate, covering a foot or two before stopping completely. Then a shadow moves across the room, but there's no one in the room. Some viewers believe it's consistent with a residual presence, something that doesn't know the space is empty and is simply continuing to interact with it. Others aren't convinced and point to the possibility of a wire just outside the camera's frame. Now, Jorge Cruz decides to try something he's been told might help with the activity inside his home, lining the doorway with salt to keep whatever's there from crossing through. He explains the plan directly to the camera, pours a thick, unbroken line across the threshold, then turns the lights off and waits. That cross on the wall flips upside down, not gradually, not with any buildup, just instantly inverted with a heavy thud. And then the salt line, the one Jorge spent time carefully laying down, disappeared, creating a clear gap in the barrier he built. By the end of the footage, the rocking chair in the corner has started moving on its own, slow and steady, with the doll still sitting in it. A lot of viewers in the comments believe Jorge made a critical mistake, not in using the salt, but in announcing it out loud first, essentially telling whatever was there exactly what he was doing and giving it time to respond. Whether the activity that followed was provoked or had already been building to this point, Jorge himself seems to believe the salt didn't stop anything. It only made it worse. Now, if something in that room was willing to scatter a protective barrier and flip across in the same night, the real question isn't whether the salt worked, it's what Jorge does next. The following clip was recorded by a group of explorers who decided to enter an abandoned building surrounded by disturbing rumors. Locals claim that people go in and come out completely shaken, some reporting sudden dizziness, intense pressure in their chest, difficulty breathing, and an overwhelming feeling that they weren't welcome there. Others say electronics malfunction, footsteps echo through empty hallways, and objects seem to move on their own. The explorers went in hoping to communicate with whatever might be causing these experiences, but instead of answers, they encountered something that seemed to confirm every story they'd heard. Watch this.
Görüntü gidiyor, var bir şey. Var bir şey var. Görüntü gidiyor. Tamam mı yıkan? Biliyorum bir şey var orada. Kafamıza gelecekti Allah aşkına. Dokundu.
At one point, an axe suddenly fell, narrowly missing them. They were incredibly lucky it didn't land on anyone. Incidents like this raise unsettling questions about the kind of presence that could exist in places like this. Some theories suggest these spirits lash out when they feel threatened, disturbed, or when their space is invaded, especially in places tied to trauma, violence, or abandonment. Whatever was inside that building didn't seem interested in communicating. It seemed angry, and that makes this encounter far more dangerous than a typical paranormal investigation. Now, in this next clip, a family has been hearing strange noises coming from their basement. At first, they didn't think much of it since the sounds were faint, irregular, and easy to dismiss. The kind of thing you blame on the house settling or your imagination filling in the gaps. But over the next few weeks, everything changed. The noises started happening more often, they grew louder, and eventually impossible to ignore. Then, one night, while the family was asleep, a sudden, heavy noise from the basement jolted them awake. Instead of staying put, the husband decided to move closer to investigate, and that decision alone sent chills through viewers. Watch closely.
Hello? Oh my god!
After the footage surfaced, opinions were split. Some viewers insist it has to be an animal, something trapped or moving around below. But others aren't convinced. They point out that the footsteps sound human. So if it isn't an animal and it isn't just the house settling, then whatever made that noise was already inside the home, waiting in the darkest part of it. But I'll leave you to be the judge of this one. On the 14th of February, 2014, a man walks into a shop like any other day. Nothing about the moment seems unusual, but what no one inside the store realizes is that something else was inside the shop. Watch closely.
Look right here. Look right here. Right here. Look. Look, watch. What is that? What is that? And it's just gone, bruh. Look at this. It's there, and now it's not. It's there, and now it's not, bruh. What is that? Bruh. What is that? What is that? And then it's just gone.
The strange figure appears and disappears in a blink, so fast that the man didn't even sense that something was there. If it wasn't for the security camera, this moment would have passed unnoticed forever. Incidents like this raise an unsettling thought. How many things move through our world without us ever knowing? How many figures slip in and out of reality just beyond our perception? Too quick, too subtle, or too unexpected for the human mind to register. And even when footage like this does surface, many people still refuse to believe it. Some call it a glitch, others say it's a shadow, a reflection, or a trick of the camera. So what do you think? Was this an anomaly or a rare glimpse into something that's always around us, quietly passing through, unseen? In this next video, a woman captured a terrifying figure inside her own home. According to her, it's late at night, and she's replaying voice messages on her phone when an overwhelming feeling hits her, the unmistakable sense that someone is staring at her, not just a thought, not imagination, that deep instinctive awareness you get when eyes are fixed on you. Trusting that feeling, she lifts her phone toward the doorway. This is what she captures. A dark figure appears, peeking from behind the door, its shape just clear enough to suggest a face watching her. What makes this even more unsettling is that this wasn't the first warning sign. Before this moment, she says she'd been experiencing subtle things around the house. Doors left slightly open when she was sure she closed them, the sound of quiet movement at night, and that recurring sensation of being watched when no one else was home. Small things she brushed off at first. Until this. Many people say humans are wired to sense when they're being observed, even without seeing it. And moments like this make you wonder how often that instinct is right. Until she shares more updates, whatever was standing in that doorway and why it was watching her remains completely unsolved. Now, in this next clip, a couple shares footage from what was supposed to be a simple cave exploration somewhere in the UK. Nothing paranormal, no ghost hunting, just curiosity and a camera rolling. But like many explorers later admit, the strangest moments aren't always noticed in real time. They're discovered after, while reviewing the footage. Watch and listen closely.
I don't blame them. Imagine how many people you could fit in here.
Because you go in here, look.
How am I going to fit through there? What? Seen all the spiders?
Yeah, have you seen them?
During the exploration, his partner becomes overwhelmed by spiders and quickly exits the cave, clearly shaken. He laughs it off at first, still filming, thinking the danger is gone, but seconds later, his mood changes. He suddenly freezes, then jumps back, reacting to the feeling that something is moving toward him from deeper inside the cave. At the time, he didn't hear anything clearly. It's only after rewatching the footage that they notice the sound at the very end of the video. Some viewers suggest it could have been an animal, even comparing it to a bear-like snarl, possibly disturbed by their presence. But others point out that caves are isolated, ancient, largely untouched, and act as natural amplifiers for phenomena we don't fully understand. In this next video, a family is together, laughing, catching up, and enjoying a quiet moment until something happens. Watch closely. Out of nowhere, the table shifts and the reaction is instant. Everyone runs. Some viewers believe this could be a prank, suggesting someone nearby might have been under the table or pulled the table. But according to locals, this area already has a reputation. Families in the vicinity have complained for years about objects moving on their own, furniture shifting slightly when no one is touching it, and sudden disturbances that happen without warning. That's what makes this moment harder to brush off. When objects move in shared spaces like this, especially during calm moments, many believe it's often the first sign something is trying to make itself known. Whether this was human interference or something far more unsettling, one thing is clear. The moment whatever happened made itself known, no one wanted to stay around long enough to find out what caused it. So what do you think happened here? Speaking of objects moving, the family in this next clip has been struggling with something they can't seem to explain. They'll leave items in one place, chairs pushed under the table, doors fully shut, small objects carefully set down, only to come back later and find everything shifted, rearranged, or completely out of place. At first, they brushed it off as forgetfulness, thinking maybe someone else moved it, or they just remembered wrong, but the patterns kept repeating. Eventually, they decided to document everything. What you're about to see is a compilation of the activity they managed to catch on camera. Watch closely.
¡Bruno! ¡Bruno! Se movió la silla.
¿Leal?
Sí.
Corre.
Tipo, es de arquitecta.
Corre.
¡Te
To some viewers, this points to something trying to interact with the physical space, poltergeist-like behavior that focuses more on movement than appearances. Others believe it could be something residual, replaying energy over and over in the same areas of the house. They've been advised to send the footage to a priest, but until that happens, speculation continues. But what do you think? Is something attached to the house, or something dangerous followed them home? I'd love to know what you think about this kind of activity. Now, in this next clip, popular Midwest ghost hunter Ian continues his investigation inside the historic Mabel Tainter Memorial Theater. This time, he heads back up to the top floor, returning to the main theater area to quietly film and listen for anything out of place. Watch closely.
It's like there's somebody up there. What the hell was that? Oh, shh. Oh my god, guys, it literally sounds like she's coming down these stairs. I smell perfume. What the heck? I smell perfume. And it's starting to feel colder in here too. Ma'am, you don't have to be shy. Feel free to come down and talk to me. Madam, what's your name? Oh my god. I heard that. That was a lady's voice. Thank you, Bam. I heard you loud and clear.
As Ian stands alone in the creepy space, he suddenly notices a strong perfume smell beginning to fill the air. What's unsettling is that the scent doesn't fade. It grows stronger, almost as if someone is moving closer to him. Paranormal investigators often associate sudden smells, especially perfume, with spirit presence, particularly when there's no logical source nearby. Moments later, this happened.
Here. Hello? Oh, holy shit! Oh my god! Dude! I just fucking saw her right there! It looked like a woman in a dress. She walked into the hallway. I gotta follow her. She went down this way. Oh my god. Every hair on my body is standing on end. Where'd you go? I saw you go this way. I feel like I heard her say Mabel. It sounded like an M. Now that I think about it, that voice from earlier, it sounded like Mabel. I'm smelling that perfume smell again. Holy shit! Holy shit! No freaking way! Look at that! That thing just came undone!
This is where things take an even stranger turn. Ian believes he may have caught sight of a figure, possibly the infamous woman in white, briefly peeking out from behind the curtain. The combination of the intensifying perfume and the movement near the stage is enough to raise serious questions about what or who might still be lingering inside the theater. So what do you think? Lingering energy, a known spirit, or something else entirely? For more haunting videos including Ian, subscribe to the channel now. The following clips were all recorded at the same home. Different nights, different cameras, but the same creeping sense that something in this house isn't quite right. It starts subtly enough. The first piece of footage comes from a porch security camera at 11:11 at night, the kind of timestamp that already makes people uncomfortable. Watch. A bright circular shape, glowing, out of focus with that floating quality that sets it apart from a falling leaf or blowing debris, drifts downward from the top of the frame and moves toward the front door before disappearing entirely. Now, skeptics will point out immediately that orbs like this are extremely common on infrared security cameras, usually caused by dust particles or insects hovering close to the lens and catching the reflected light. That's the rational explanation, and it's a solid one. But in ancient folklore stretching back centuries, orbs of light were interpreted as something far more intentional, manifestations of spirits or energies serving as a bridge between our world and something beyond it. Whether this is a speck of dust or something more meaningful, what it does is set the tone for everything that follows. Something in this house seems to be making itself known. That same night, just after 11:43 p.m., the indoor Nest camera catches something with considerably less ambiguity. The living room is dark and quiet, small dogs restless in the background, when without warning, a loud crash erupts from somewhere off camera. Watch. The unseen object hits hard, the kind of crash that doesn't sound like something that simply fell, and within seconds, a woman rushes from the backyard across the patio, bursting through the door in pajamas, grabbing what looks like a fly swatter, calling out for her dog Mackenzie, her voice high and disoriented. She hadn't been inside when it happened. Nothing should have fallen. But something did, loudly and without explanation, in an empty room. A few nights later, at 3:10 in the morning, the same living room camera captures something even harder to dismiss. The woman is sitting on the gray sofa, a white circular tray resting in her lap, or on the coffee table in front of her, the TV murmuring in the background. Take a look.
Because my search is 6 and I won. I gave you 6 points, I'm deducting 7. This is ridiculous. Don't make me think about numbers again. A brave and accurate decision. Yes, my captain. Yes. Yeah, holy captain, your horticulture is harvestable. Ah, good. Come on, thank you. Fine. Hurry happily, and Hank, he's hungry. Hollow hippo.
The tray flips out of her lap as she starts to stand. Unusual, but manageable. And then, after she picks it up and holds it in both hands, it is violently thrown sideways across the room toward the fireplace by something she clearly cannot see. She flinches back, hands still raised, visibly shaken. That's not a dropped object. That's not physics. The force and the horizontal trajectory make the mundane explanations fall apart quickly, and many viewers who've seen this clip describe it as one of the clearest examples they've encountered of something physically interacting with a person inside their own home. Then, it got worse. In what is arguably the most unsettling clip from this house, the woman is standing on the front porch late at night, talking on the phone, a completely ordinary conversation about food and laundry, when the front door behind her slams shut. Listen closely.
Hey, when are you coming over? I gotta wait for my work clothes to dry. Then I'm coming.
Okay, I'm hungry.
I understand that. I can't just not leave without my work clothes.
Okay, that's fair. Well, do you want me to just make something here?
What do you have?
I mean, like pizzas or maybe chicken nuggets, nothing crazy.
Do you have ranch at your house?
No, can you bring your ranch?
Pretty much.
Come on.
Dude, my door just closed.
So the slam's down?
Yes. And it's locked.
What the fuck?
I just got locked out of my house.
Is there anyone there?
Yes, nobody's here.
That's kind of scary. Where are the doors?
Luna! Luna's inside by herself. I don't even see her in there. Hang on.
Everything rash. Lady? Hello? Touched it.
She spins around immediately, tries the handle, and it won't open. She's locked out of her own house. She's panicking, telling the man on the phone that nobody's inside, calling out for her dog Luna, pacing the porch in visible distress. Then, the phone call drops, and from the interior camera, the locked door swings open on its own, unlocking and pushing inward with force, letting her back inside to a room that immediately fills with frantic barking and a loud, rapid electronic chiming sound that no one triggers. The sequence of events, door slamming, locking, then unlocking, isn't something that fits easily into any straightforward explanation. Drafts don't lock deadbolts. Glitches don't let you back in. For viewers who'd been following the activity in this home, this clip felt like confirmation that whatever they were dealing with wasn't passive. It was paying attention. And then came the night that made everything else feel like a prologue. She's in the bedroom with her 2 dogs, Luna and another large fluffy dog, and the dogs are restless in the way animals get when they sense something their owners can't yet locate. She moves the camera toward the window and presses it to the glass, looking out into the pitch black woods. Watch closely.
Sit. Come here. Can't see.
Deep in the darkness, a small, solitary red light sits completely still among the tree trunks, not moving, not flickering, just hovering there while she watches it for over 30 seconds, whispering and swearing under her breath, her breathing growing heavier. Then she pulls the camera away from the window when she hears a groaning sound. The red light outside may never be explained. Stationary and isolated, it doesn't behave like any passing vehicle or animal. But the lamp turning itself on while her back was turned, in a room she never left, is what breaks the clip open. Whatever is happening in this house has moved through nearly every room. The porch, the living room, the front door, the bedroom, and each clip shows it getting closer to her, more direct, more willing to make itself felt. Where it goes from here is the part that keeps people up at night. The following clips were recorded inside a funeral home, a place where, according to the man filming, strange noises had already been happening for a while before he ever pointed a camera at anything. During the day, the showroom sits completely still, rows of coffins displayed on tiered racks beneath bright natural light flooding through a wall of large windows, the kind of space that's unsettling enough even when nothing moves. He insists the room was empty, and yet, according to him, things had already been shifting on their own. Watch.
Miren, como tenemos rato escuchando ruidos aquí en esta zona. Si vemos, pues está solo. Y creemos que pues hay algo aquí, porque pues se empiezan a mover así como que medio raro. Miren. Miren cómo se mueve, miren. Miren cómo se mueve. No hay nada. Está mi compañero, pero pues si vemos estamos solos.
One of the dark wood coffins on the lower rack begins to rock rhythmically back and forth, wobbling in a steady, sustained motion with no one near it. He rushes over and opens the lid himself, white-lined, completely empty inside. He pans the camera to show the room, and the only other person visible is his companion, walking out from behind a partition in the background. Some viewers think the rhythmic, controlled nature of the shaking suggests something mechanical or a person out of frame, but others find it hard to explain given how openly he shows the empty interior immediately after. Either way, it wasn't enough to make them leave. That same night, they were back, and what happened next was a completely different kind of experience. Watch closely.
Estamos aquí en la funeraria, otra vez, con ruidos raros. Entonces, pues, está solo. Ahora sí. ¿Cuál pinche que se ve? Que nada. Estoy solo a la chingada. Estoy solo. Chingada. Ah, la chingada. No mames. Ah, la chingada.
He's alone in a narrow hallway at the back of the funeral home, scanning a storage room packed with rows of tall silver metal stands, candelabras and pedestals used for funeral services, standing upright in tight formation. Then, one of them suddenly crashes to the right, and before he can even react to that, the rest follow. A massive, violent wave of metal striking the floor all at once, the sound filling the entire hallway. The camera whips sideways as he screams in pure panic and the clip just ends. What's harder to dismiss here isn't just the noise but the sequence. One stand falls first, as if triggered, and then the rest come down seconds later with far more force than a single domino-style collapse would explain. Some believe what they captured across both clips points to an intelligent presence, something in that building that escalates when it feels watched. A funeral home that absorbs the energy of loss for years, many argue, becomes exactly the kind of place that holds on to something. And whatever was in that storage room clearly didn't want them there after dark. The following video was recorded on a quiet morning at just past 10 a.m., inside a home that its owner describes as anything but ordinary. A living room full of gothic decor, taxidermy, vintage furniture, and objects he says he's collected specifically from haunted places over the years. He'd woken up that morning with a feeling he couldn't shake, the kind that made him reach for a camera before he could fully explain why. The house was freezing despite a lit fire, and strange scratching sounds had been drifting in from the dining room. So he started filming, panning slowly around the room, and even asking out loud for whatever was there to make itself known. His cat was already acting strangely, pacing near the archway, looking back toward the dining table. Then something answered. Watch.
Okay folks, as you can see, it's almost 20 past 10 in the morning. I've decided to start filming because I knew something wasn't right in this house this morning. I've got the fire on, as you can see there, and it's warm outside, but the house is freezing. And furthermore, there's constant, I don't know, scratchy type noises coming from the dining room. So I've got it out there, that's the cat, on the off chance. If you're making noises in here, make yourself known. Do it now while I've got an actual camera out again. It's driving me absolutely wild, to be honest. Oh, it's cold. Can you do something to make your presence known? Oh. Oh, my TV's gone off. Right, okay. Oh, there's a bit of an atmosphere, you know, guys. Cat's acting a bit weird as well. What's wrong? You okay? What? Right. Thank you for doing that. Okay. Woo, I'm freaked out. Thank you. What is it you want? Why do you just randomly flare every now and then? The cat is going nuts at the bottom of the stairs. If you've just moved that chair, do something for me again. Can you hear that noise? Sophia, what are you doing? Whoa, what was that? What was that? What was that? What? Jesus. Okay, as many of you know that follow me for quite some time now, every so often I'll get a little flare of activity in this house. It is filled with objects I've collected from haunted places or that are said to be haunted. Whew, I'm a little bit shook up by that. It always starts with the cats as well, you know, they know when something's about to go on. Whoa, I don't know what to make of that. Look.
3 separate things happen in this clip, each one louder and more violent than the last. The TV switches off on its own the moment he asks for a sign. Then a dining chair slides sharply backward across the wooden floor with no one near it, and you can hear the scrape clearly as the cat bolts out of frame in the same instant. Then, a floor lamp and everything sitting on the side table next to the armchair gets thrown to the ground in one sudden crash. He's barely keeping the camera steady by the time it's over. What makes this so hard to dismiss is the layering of it. 3 distinct events, escalating in force, with the cat reacting before each one like it knew what was coming. He explains at the end that this is something that happens in what he calls flares, periods of intense activity that seem connected to the haunted objects he keeps in the house. If you follow cases involving cursed or spiritually charged objects, that framing fits a pattern that shows up often. The idea that certain items don't just carry a location's energy, but actively draw activity wherever they're brought. Paranormal researchers sometimes refer to this as object attachment, where the presence isn't tied to the building at all, but to whatever came in through the front door. The cats, he says, are always the first to know. And looking at how they move in this footage, it's difficult to argue with that. What do you think is living in that collection with him? In the following video, a woman was simply recording what should have been a peaceful moment. A waterfall deep in Brazil, surrounded by nature. Nothing unusual, just a calm scene meant to capture the beauty of the place. But her camera caught something else. Watch closely.
Queda d'água, muita água, muita força. Uhul! E caraca, uma coisa ali. Caraca, apareceu um cara ali no meio da água. Mozinho, mozinho, você viu o cara no meio da água? Caraca!
For just a brief moment, a dark, shadowy figure appears to rise from within the waterfall itself, before suddenly vanishing back into the rushing falls as if it was never there. Viewers have slowed the footage frame by frame, and the shape is hard to ignore. To this day, no clear explanation has been able to fully account for what was captured. Some believe this could be a jinn, entities said to inhabit wild, untouched places like forests, rivers, and waterfalls, especially in parts of the world where such stories have existed for centuries. Others suggest it may be a duende, a folkloric being often linked to natural environments in South America. There are also those who think it could be something even stranger, a being briefly slipping through from another dimension, visible only for seconds before disappearing. Skeptics argue shadows, water flow, or camera artifacts. But what makes this clip unsettling is how distinct the figure appears and how deliberately it seems to move. So, what do you think this really was? A ghost tied to the land? A jinn drawn to the water? A duende watching from the falls? Or something else entirely? Now, this next video was recorded by a man who's slowly running out of explanations. For weeks, his young son has been insisting that there's someone in the house with them. At first, it was easy to dismiss. A child's imagination, shadows on the wall, toys left in the wrong place. The father brushed it off, telling his son that whatever he thought he was seeing was all in his head. But the claims didn't stop. The boy started talking to empty corners of the room. He'd pause mid-play, stare, and wave as if someone had just passed by. Sometimes he'd laugh, other times he'd go completely quiet, listening to something only he could hear. One night, just as they were about to go to sleep, the boy became visibly unsettled. Have a look.
कहाँ बैठा हुआ है कौन बैठा हुआ है यही मैं बाहर चला गया कौन है कौन ये कैसा दिखता है इसको बुलाओ इधर बुलाओ इसको बुलाओ इसको कहाँ क्या है यहाँ पे कुछ भी तो नहीं है क्यों अर्थ कर रहा है मैंने अकेले सोना होता है, मतलब बुलाओ इसको, इससे बात करें। इसको बुलाओ, उसको मुझे बात करनी है तुमसे। है लड़की है लड़का है? ये जिससे बात कर रहे हो, ये लड़की है कि लड़का है?
Watching the footage back, the father still wasn't sure what to make of it. He couldn't see anything obvious, so he shared the video online, hoping that maybe someone else would notice what he couldn't. Because at this point, the situation was starting to bother him, not just because of what his son claimed to see, but because of how consistent those claims had become. Many people say you should never tell a child they're lying when they insist they see something, especially when their fear doesn't fade and their reactions don't change. Some believe children are more sensitive to things adults no longer notice. So what do you see in the video? And more importantly, how should he handle it the next time his son says he's still here?